Oh boy. Am I here? Yes, yes. Am I here? Ooh. Okay. Sorry, I was sneezing. Let me hold on. Ooh. Sorry, good morning. I it's a beautiful, beautiful day here in Boston today. It's warm, it's sunny, and I think it's like spring's hitting really hard here. I think I may have some allergy or something. I don't know. I was sneezing real hard like 2 minutes ago. Hey, Nicolas, how you doing? Thanks for the notes on Discord. I think those are actually pretty interesting topics that we should touch upon in C Sharp because they are very important if you want to move on to like next levels. I wonder. So here's the question, Nicolas, because the current list that we have in C Sharp for C Sharp is basically, let's call it like learning C Sharp introduction, blah, blah, blah. I wonder, because those topics, I would call them more advanced topics. I wonder if it would make sense to start another list or another playlist, which is something like advanced topics in computer programming or something like that. And then we can discuss these kind of ideas there. I wonder if that would be, because what did you propose? What did you propose? You proposed reflection, attributes, you proposed asynchronous programming, dynamic overloading. Honestly, I'm not even sure what you mean by dynamic overloading. Do you mean dynamic types? A type that can be any type? Or what do you mean? Nullable reference, relevant operators. We actually haven't done custom operators, which we should, because they're actually, if you want to implement like a class, like a vector library, it's kind of interesting to have those so that you can add two vectors with the plus sign. Dependency injection, I also don't know. What do you mean by dependency injection? Could you explain on the chat exactly like operator overloading? Yes. Could you explain in the chat what dynamic overloading means and dependency injection? I really don't know what you mean with those. And extension methods are really cool too. Yeah, we could definitely take a look at all of these. All right. Yes. All right. So let's do the needful. uh, all right. So let's start with the basics. Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Jose Luis, and I'm getting a lot of email right now. My name is Jose Luis, and I've been sorry. I need to center myself because I'm getting a lot of. Let me turn off my phone and turn off my everything. Yes, exactly. Right. Okay, I'm here. So, hello, this is Jose Luis here. This is Parametric Camp. We do live streams. We go live mostly every Friday, but not always. And then we record things. We record tutorials on computational design, like computational geometry, 3D modeling, computer graphics, nerdy algorithms, all that stuff. And then we edit them and we publish them as pseudo polished videos. If you want to know more, social media, we're particularly active in Instagram. We do have a Discord server. We have conversations throughout the week offline when we're not streaming. This is how I get the chance to meet people like Nicolas and many other parametric campers. And we have conversations over the weeks, and it definitely informs a lot of the work that I end up bringing to the live streams and a lot of the videos that we end up recording, etc., etc. If you want to know when we go live, Discord is a really good place to know that. There's also a calendar in the description of this video that you can join to get notifications of when do we go live. Hey, Herr Ron with the neon cut. I like it. Nice to meet you. Thank you for your kind words. All right, so what are we doing today? Today we're gonna take it a little chill because I have a meeting right after the live stream, and I had a few ideas. There's a couple of algorithms that I want to explore. So one of the things that I teach in class this semester is image processing algorithms, and there's this technique called dithering that I find really interesting, and that it has a lot of really interesting applications on not only for image, but also, for example, for multi-material 3D printing. So I kind of wanted to run a couple of those algorithms and give them a try, but I would like to think first of how to frame them so that it may, because maybe I want to make like something a bit like a 2 or 3 video series around those. I'm not sure. I'm also working with one of my fellows here at Parametric Camp, one of our campers, Victor. We're working on a prototype right now for a voxel-based plugin. I know there's some of those already, but this one has a particular angle that I'm interested in exploring. And I think this dithering algorithm might be useful for that. But I still don't know how I want to frame that and how, if I wanted to put it in perspective of some larger workflow or whatever. So I think I'm going to put a pin on that one. And something that we need to get going as soon as possible is that one of the things that we said we were going to do this year was going to make a plugin to tap and to access all these artificial intelligences, all these neural networks that have been published recently. Like, for example, all the work from OpenAI, like, what is it called? Like DALI and ChatGPT and GPT-4, or some other environments like IBM Cloud also has a lot of also has a bunch of AI related tools, right? So it could be interesting to get some of that, to basically create a framework that pings all these neural networks as a REST service very easily, right? So and we need to get that done fairly soon because I will be giving a lecture on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and design. I'm going to be giving an online lecture, a webinar for McNeil somewhere end of May, June. I should know that, right? Let me take a look at that. So when is that going to happen? On Friday, June the 16th. So we have 2 months to get that done. And I would also like this project to be a collaborative project. I would like it to be a parametric camp project, if you will. So I would like to perhaps start the project. I would like to start the project. And I would like perhaps to come up with a set of ideas or like a pattern for how to design these components, etc. But I would be really, really happy if other folks were interested in pitching in to this work. What that means is that I would be really happy if people find other sources of APIs online and they can implement. They want to implement more components in the plugin, or if people want to take up the list of components that we have as homework and they start implementing them. So that would be really, really good, for example. Herb, anytime, of course. Thanks to you. All right, I used to work as a civil engineer before I went back to school to specialize in computational design. I actually did a lot of structural calculations and structural design and even roads and some bridges. Yeah, used to teach structures here at Harvard University last year. I gave that up last year. I stopped doing that last year. All right, so because we're going to do this plugin and I want to start as soon as possible, what I would like to do today is it's like brainstorm as a group. I would like to do two things. I would like to do a bunch of things. I would like to do some background research, meaning just go online and see what people have done, what's available, if there's any open source code that we can recycle in, if someone has already done like an amazing job and it's useless to just reinvent the wheel, I don't know. So I would like to do some background research. Then I would like to brainstorm how the architecture of these components, or what categories we could have, what APIs we could ping. So right now in my mind, it's OpenAI and IBM that I would really want to work on. But if there's on any other nice cloud repository of APIs and machine learning that we can access, that would be fantastic. Hey, Arastu, how you doing? Danilo, Jarudi, I'm not sure if we've met before. It's a pleasure to see you. And so I would like to do that. And if we have some time, because I have a meeting back to back with this, if we have some time, I would like to maybe just start the repo, organize things in the repo, make like a document with the wish list of things. So today is going to be more like a boring sort of let's plan a project, which, I mean, it's maybe not very exciting, but it's kind of exciting because it's the design part, is where you get to think. And I would definitely like to do this with my fellow campers here and get some feedback and some input. I would like to do that from the chat, or I'm going to have the live tab on Discord also open here on the side. So probably we can do that. Okay. Any questions? Who is Nick? Nicholas, yes. All right. I believe Nicholas has some news to share with us, right? Is that true, Nicholas? Any changes in your life recently? Anything you want to share with the group? All right. Okay, so all right, so let's start. First things first, I'm going to have here a notepad. So I'm going to start brain, and oops, that's a lot. I'm going to make this a little less bright. So, all right, brain plugin. All right, brain plugin. And then I'm going to, what are we going to do? Brain plugin. This is a document for planning the new AI plugin for Grasshopper made by the parametric camp community. Boop. And then why does this happen? Why doesn't Visual Studio render nice emojis? That's kind of lame. Anyway, so let's start. A kickoff is going to be some background research, what's available today, brainstorming of components, categories, and then planning a draft of the structure of the plugin. Maybe we can start with this. Okay, that sounds reasonable to me. So, okay, so background research. Oh my God, my typing today is awful. So, what are we going to do? Projects out there. Oops, sorry. current projects out there. All right, so I would like any help on this would be much appreciated. So if you know people who've written AI, machine learning, neural networks, APIs for Grasshopper, that would be fantastic. So I'm going to start with Food for Rhino. Okay, and I'm going to just type machine learning, bang, and see what we get. Pug. This plugin implements the machine learning library TensorFlow.net in Grasshopper to provide some neural network and machine learning functionalities. Whoa, so this looks nice. So it's basically TensorFlow.net cross-section material, but cross-section stock. This looks like structure, material circularity. Component installation of a plain animal is required to define reinforcement learning problems in Grasshopper. Okay, so we have Pug for Grasshopper, and this does an implementation of TensorFlow.net. We want mostly access to APIs, not ground up ML. I'm just going to, yes, so I'm going to add a comment to compare what we want versus what we find. So this is great, but I don't want to make a plugin for people to do machine learning from scratch. I want a plugin to just help people connect to existing APIs of plugins. So that's going to be, maybe what we want is to also write like philosophy, goals, not from scratch. We want mostly components to make it easier to access existing APIs. So I think that's kind of a goal that we need to set here. All right, so then we have Dodo. What is Dodo? So it's a collection of machine learning, pronunciation, and geometry regarding AI features, neural networks, gradient descent, stochastic gradient, some optimization. Dodo has tools for scalar, vector, and tensor field manipulation, isosurfaces. Huh, this is cool. I don't know what this does. Okay. Some components are implementations of papers. You can find more info on some components by right-clicking on them and checking out their HTML description. Is there p3d.ind? What is p3d.ind? Whoa, what is this? Okay. Whoa, this is nice. Ooh, I like this. What is this p3d.ind, by the way? Your 3D online. So this is like Sketchfab? Is this what it is? Okay. Luciano's work, but you already talked with him. Did I? Who is Luciano? I'm not sure. Can you remind me of that? So it looks like Dodo is not open source. Wait. Lorenzo, quant trading, repositories, GPU tutorial, Grasshopper unit test, pneumonia, Colibri. Well, it doesn't look like this is open source, so that's kind of a downer. Dodo, assorted collection of ML tools, not open source. Okay, Luciano Ambrosini. That rings a bell. Luciano Ambrosini, yeah. Yeah, why is this? Oh yeah, because he was, wasn't he on the, yeah, he was here a few streams. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. AI as render engine inside Grasshopper. Win as the a window app for quickly running stable diffusion and ContourNet via locally. Via local Grasshopper. Render inside 2D image depth and to 3D object with Grasshopper. Stable diffusion, stability, ask to open. Yeah. Ambrosinos toolkit. Ambrosinos toolkit? What is this Ambrosinos toolkit? Gradient, blah, blah, blah. Files and full description. About me. Ambrosinus, altervista.org. Okay. All right. Am I friends with Luciano? He made that plugin that connects to various APIs. So what is the plugin? Can you remind me, Nicholas, what is the plugin that he made? I will... GitHub repo, Accord framework, Grasshopper autoencoder. Oh, this is from Matthias? Nice. Matthews. What is this? Oh, Owl. I'm pre-including myself, greater for developers and myself. Okay. Owl. Same as Pug. Similar. Let's call it similar. Probably not the same. Similar to Pug. Then what else do we got? Launchbox. Yeah, I know Launchbox has some machine learning tools, some ML components, but it's kind of machine learning, regression clustering, and neural networks. Ambrosinus toolkit. Ambrosinus toolkit. Let's see. Script for users, projects from design management. The most sending is the possibility to run DALI and stability API requesting processes inside of Grasshopper. You now can. Please read below. I have proceeded this locally thanks to the automatic project. Read more on my website. All right. So what does this look like? Oh, it does look really good. You're right. Image, mask an image, build, AI. What is this? I'm assuming. Huh. This might be as close as so AI, image tools, extra. So is there a website? Rhino package, we can do Yak 1.2. Oh, he just published this week, actually. Luciano Ambrosini. Is it open source? Support email, support forum, Luciano Ambrosini, Outlook, Ambrosinus. I recommend it. Python for OpenAI components, live version means no edit. You have to install Python. Oh, okay. Reboot Python. Okay. So this looks very, very similar to what we want to do. Yes, stability AI, diffusion inside Grasshopper with Python, advanced version. I would like to stay away from the dependencies. So I understand running Python, etc., but philosophy, we want open source. We want to avoid dependencies / processes running in the background. Maybe. So Ambrosinos toolkit looks very similar to what we want to do. Very nice and comprehensive. Not open source. Question mark? Maybe it's open source somewhere. I just haven't seen it. I don't know. So install here. Then you get a nice ControlNet 3D Ambrosinos toolkit, 3D point cloud. I don't know. Let me see. Perspective. Halloween. Have a scary day. All right. Well, this definitely looks super similar to what we want. Catwalk, webcam to estimate human features. Catwalk, pose estimation only. Maybe it's running control postnet in the back. The pipe, runway ML, runway. Luciano Ambrosini. I see Victor is giving me toolkit info, display. Oh, it is open source. Okay. Toolkit bar under development. Okay, so it is open source. So let me cross that. It is open source. Great. This is awesome. I don't know if you're here, Luciano, but you got big thumbs up. Very, very cool. Runway ML, only runway integration. However, that would be nice. So we could do runway integration. It's just that runway is steering away from a maybe we, but it is basically accessed through an API. So if you have it running in the background, but they're also not developing that anymore, they're steering away from runway as a service, as a local service. They're moving completely to the cloud, and you want to implement bindings to the runway ML API. Maybe do they have something online? I don't know. I think it's not fully open source. It looks like mostly example files. Oh, wait, really? Image components, extra components, display components, gradient library. Oh, you're right. Oh, only examples. Okay. So it's not fully open source. Okay, well, that's too bad. AI components, DALI, yeah. Component output. Security concern. What would be the security concern here? Rain. Okay, and then Optimus meta heuristic optimization. Wow, Cockatoo. 3D knitting patterns. Oh, what? 3D knitting patterns? Are you kidding me? That's so cool. Oh boy. Oh, we're gonna have to explore this one. Okay, Octopus, Mind Desk, AVR Opossum optimization. So it looks like there's not a lot here. I'm actually surprised there's not more. What if I do AI? Incheon, Naka, oh no. Artificial intelligence. Spider. Urban designers analyze framework Condor shells applying their structural engineers to create complex foundation models and slab models for safe. Fuzzy logic component for Grasshopper. What is that? It's a field logic what you do simultaneously with other. Okay. All right. So not a lot of stuff. Mostly the Ambrosinos toolkit is the most promising one. What if we look inside of Yak? Package manager. 3D knitting pattern. I know, right, Nick? Absolutely. Machine learning. Let's see what we got. What? Mesh machine. Remeshing components for Grasshopper. No. Learning. ML. Streamline point selection. Wow, this is not a good search tool. Sorry, McNeil. Okay, AI, that's gonna just, yeah. What is this? Test RGR, try your smart. Yeah, that's very random. Watermark painter, chain tools, yeah. So I don't think this is giving us anything new. Okay, so I'm kind of surprised. What's his name? Carl Singlein from Germany, who's doing little KUKA robots. Didn't he write some OpenAI, ChatGPT, something? YouTube, Carl Singlein. Yes. Mixing ChatGPT with robotic output. ChatGPT in Grasshopper 3D. A little script to open. But yeah, there's no documentation or no plugin or file. There's no reference here really. Okay. Well, that's not cool. Okay. All right. So we want to, no ML from scratch. We just want components to access ML from other places. No open source. We want open source, so we will make it open source. And we want to avoid dependencies like having to install like Anaconda environments and dependencies and blah, blah, blah. Even though I'm saying here that Runway, maybe integration with Runway, but Runway, yeah, I guess we'll take a look at that. All right, so background research. APIs that we could implement. All right, so let's take a look at that. So of course, OpenAI, let's take a look at OpenAI. So if we go to OpenAI API, what do we have here? Explore the API. What's going on? Yeah, where is the API? No. OpenAI. Can I sign in? Can I just sign in somehow? OpenAI. Developers. OpenAI. I always forget. Platform. OpenAI. Exactly. Here's what I want to be. So, overview, documentation. Beseech Syn Up. There's explore the API. What is Beseech Syn Up? I did not understand that. Are you typing with your feet again, Victor? Design your prompt, tokens, etc. So we have, yes. So what do we have? We have chat, OpenAI. We have chat, which I'm not sure. We will need to see what the difference between chat and text completion. We have text completion. We have chat. We have image generation, of course. We have fine tuning. Yeah, I don't know if we want to do that. We'll see. Fine tuning. I don't know about that. Chat plugins, introduction, getting started, introduction. So we have embeddings, text to speech, speech to text. That could be cool. And it would also mean that we will need to somehow bring in some form of what? Some form of piping audio and encoding audio and sending it to OpenAI, which I don't know how it's done, how they do that from there, but that could be really cool. Interesting. How do we implement audio in Grasshopper? That could be an interesting image generation, and also image tools for visualization, editing, etc., etc. Firefly has a bunch of those, but it's not open source. Because it's not open source, we can't really look at the code and get inspiration. Yeah, I know. Fine tuning. Maybe this is a little too much. I don't know. Let's put a pin on that one. Then I want to do IBM Cloud. And I want to see what models, Watson machine learning. I want to see what models are out there. And we did some of this in the past. So IBM Cloud, it's a really, really large repository of services that you can access. So you can rent, it's like Amazon. There's like parts of it which are like Amazon Web Services, where you can just rent some machines, deploy some processes, and access the processes. There's a bunch of those, but there are AI and machine learning. So, for example, Watson lets you build conversational interfaces into any application, device, or channel. Watson Assistant. So, for example, for IBM, can we do Watson Assistant? What is this? And there's like a free plan, which is cool. Everything you need to get started. Make your website assistant with your own web chat. Deploy web chat in minutes, etc. One thing that I would like is for philosophy goals, any component, every component / API endpoint / process should come with a sample file. So what we want is to make sure that there's always a sample file that everyone can use for every particular component. I believe this plugin is about democratizing access to ML and helping people explore possibilities creatively. This is not about teaching the underlying principles of ML, regression, neural network architectures, etc. So that's why we want to make this something that can be used easily and can be learned from easily, but it's not about learning machine learning, okay? So this is a little bit of the lesson. Google and Microsoft also have ML service. Well, they probably do. I wonder if Bard is already available, right? But if they don't have an API, then it's going to be tricky. We have Watson Assistant, Watson Studio Develop, models, compliant and custom Dabber nodes, IBM Match, Converse List, language translator. Oh, this could be cool. Language translator. So we have language translator, what translator, and from here, what's an assistant? This could be this one. It looks like we have here natural language understanding, which is good. Natural language understanding. So I think I've used this one in the past. You give it a bunch of text and it tells you like whether if the mood of the text, whether if it's happy, sad, assertive, and blah, blah, blah. Conversational tool for chatbots, text to speech, speech to text. They also have text to speech. They have text to speech back and forth. So that would be this one. And yeah, and the other one. Add a cognitive search and content analytics engine to applications. Discover profile, trusted data in your organization. See? Text to speech. This is not, yeah, this is. Cognitive search and content analytics engine to applications. I don't know what this is. All right. Now, all right, so I would like to implement some of this as well. What else can we do out there? So what about Hugging Face? So Hugging Face is a very popular service right now for people to deploy their own models. So basically what you do is that if you know how to write models or how to package them, what you can use is Hugging Face to upload your model and have it be served online through an API via the Hugging Face interface. And they also wrap it up in a way that can be used from a graphical user interface, which means, and actually stability, the main stable diffusion model is typically Stable Diffusion Online. Oh, they now have get started for free. Okay, so I think this window may actually be a Hugging Face. Oh no, it's a Runway ML wrapper. Whoa! So Stable Diffusion used to generate images. Stable Diffusion used to be really Hugging Face oriented, but it looks like now their website, StableDiffusionWeb.com. Is this? Maybe this is not them. Maybe this is not Stability AI. Copyright Stable Diffusion Online. Yeah, this is not them. This is not Stability AI. Is there some kind of although this very much looks like Hugging Face, right? Wait, so let me share it. Is this also Stability AI? The iframe is Stability AI, but this iframe here is this iframe is Runway ML. Maybe it's not Runway ML. Maybe I'm confused. I'm not sure. Anyway, my point being, Hugging Face actually lets you use the interface as a graphical interface, but they also provide an API that you can access through API calls. So Hugging Face. So from Hugging Face, we may want to just ping, for example, Stable Diffusion Stable Diffusion, because it's probably perhaps the most popular model from Stability AI. But perhaps we want to create like a plugin that does a generic access, because since Hugging Face models are run by people and they may or may not be on, they may or may not be active, they may pop up, they may be, there's kind of like a lot of uncertainty about those models. So we may want to figure out a generic, what's called generic access to any Hugging Face model, something like that, as in, yeah, as in, if you find the link and if you get the information, then you just punch the information in the component and then you get it. Maybe. So that could be another one. I'm going to, oh. All right. So we have OpenAI. Actually, let me do this. OpenAI. We have IBM. For example, we have Hugging Face. What else do we want to do? Ooh, okay, Runway ML. What is the status of Runway ML these days? And actually, Runway ML, do we have an API? Hosted models. Models API. Bring the infinity power to your app. With your easy-to-use API, you can seamlessly integrate all them right inside your app. Host a model. Simple API, turn them on remote inside our application, cloud first, efficient. And there looks like there is some kind of people hosting models with an API and YOLO and whatever. Integrate your web app with just a few lines of code, host a model, URL, the token, and then you get yes. Everything you need to make everything you want. So maybe there is something we can do with Runway ML. Host the model. App Runway. Okay, so can I host the model? Video team, Gen 1, text to image. Free plan, upgrade to standard. So, I guess we would have to do some research and figure out what the current status of the hosted model local network API. ML lab features have become experimental and support beyond documentation is very limited. Yes, so this is what I was referring to. This is, let me go. Do I have Runway here? Yes. So Runway, when it started, it was this app that ran locally on your computer, and let me see. Okay, did I get it? Oh no, wait. No. Run, oh, I see. Sorry. All right, so it used to be this app that you could run locally on your machine, and many of you already know this. It was this app that you could run locally on your machine, and then you could have a model. So you could have a workspace, and in workspace you could basically just do simple stuff like give it an image and get the depth of that image in response. But you could also turn on network and then have these models served in the background and access that service through an API with a REST call to local network, local host, as you would have done. So there are still some ways of doing this, but I mean, you still can do this, but it turns out that Runway ML is not, as far as my understanding goes, ML Lab is discontinued and support is not moving forward. So hosted models are now, yeah, hosted models are an experimental feature. Response times for posts using hosted in any critical infrastructure. We don't currently offer necessarily to hosted models. Creating a hosted model. Okay, so it looks like hosted models are also not a thing anymore. Is that a thing? Okay. Hosted model pricing, link to models. Hosted model pricing are charged at 1 cent per post request. This cost is accrued to the hosted model owner. So if you are the owner of the model, you pay for those requests. Which is kind of bad, because then it's not like we, for example, at Parametric Camp can host a model and then can charge people for pings to that model. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Well, I guess, let's see. Looks like hosted models are in the process of deprecation. It seems like maybe we could still explore API calls to hosted models in ML Lab, which is the client version of this, the local client version of this. API calls to web-based hosted models. But it looks like any of these would have low preference because it's a little more involved. It's a little against one of the goals, which is not having to deal with integrations and processes running in the background, or you uploading a model to your service and hosting that model. It's kind of tricky. So perhaps we could take a look at Runway, but maybe it's not a priority, low priority. Maybe it's not high priority. We'll see. All right, I'm out of ideas. Any other APIs? Saeed, hello, it's been a long time. Online machine learning APIs. AutoML and deep learning. Build custom AI as Azure. Okay. Build, train, and deploy machine learning models. Okay. Let's see. Azure pre-train models API. Machine learning, blah, blah, blah. Hyper. Does Hyper have an API? Whoa, very good. Hyper API. Hyper IO. Developing for Hyper. Create the next generation platform for designing and sharing building systems. Create free account. The demo. Hyper. This session covering topics, expertise, and building for making hyper functions or jumpstart integrated functions in the language of your choice. C# function, crossover functions. Want to see what classes and methods are available in the open source elements? I see. pre-flight check, the Hyper CLI, things you want to know, creating a function, blah, blah, blah. You evaluate the function, and then you run the function as a local project, CLI, starter function. Yeah, I don't know about this. It doesn't look exactly, or it looks like it has a lot of overhead, and then you need to install this command line tool. Okay, let's put it here. Hyper. Looks like they don't host machine learning models, but maybe they host processes. Can we access them through a REST API? A REST API is basically meaning anything that is a GET request, a POST request, that kind of stuff. Looks like you need to install their CLI tool, which is kind of a downer, basically. Sad emoji. Okay. So maybe take a look, but low priority too. Maybe reach out to Ian and or Andrew and see if they have anything to say about, maybe, I don't know. Okay, Acer, let's go back to Acer. Cognitive services. APIs for AI solutions. Cognitive services, what is this? Cognitive Edge AI to the developer, decision making, try out APIs. Speech to text, text translation, speaker recognition, identify and verify people speaking based on audio. Oh, let's see. Speaker recognition. A speech service feature that verifies and identifies speakers. Check out what's new at Acer AI Build. User and audio capture output. Oh, okay. All right, so maybe they do have some stuff. Language. Entity recognition. Terms, sentiment analysis, question answering. Oh, all right. Vision, decision, custom vision, decision, anomaly detector, content moderator, personalizer. Okay, so Azure. Looks like they have an AVM like set of machine learning models. That, and then are they free, accessible? I haven't worked with any of these before, so we should give these a try. Personal OpenAI service. Apply advanced coding and language models to a variety of use cases. They have OpenAI because, of course, integration. Because, of course, Microsoft and OpenAI, tiki tiki tiki. They've been dating for a while now. What else? What about Google? I knew Wickerson Studios were doing something in ML. You're right. Google. Cloud Google pre-tuned. Google pre-trained models API. How to pre-train model AI and machine learning products. Okay. See AI solutions. Theo Joe? I'm not sure who Theo Joe is. Can you post a link to that somewhere, Victor? Probably on the live channel on Discord. Compute engine, storage, no. But I want explainable AI. AI for developers. Media translation, text-to-speech, recommendations, text-to-speech, vision. Theo Joe, I created another app to revolutionize YouTube. All right. A little bold. You click here, Theo Joe, 3 million? Who is this person? I've never heard of this person. I make technology videos including new reviews, articles, evil news scam, bad, good, CEO deepfake. Okay. I created another app to revolutionize YouTube. Okay, and what is the app about? Endpoint hosting. All right, well, we probably can take a look at this. So AI for developers. Okay. Google. Looks like Google has some AI for developers APIs. Maybe take a look at these. Okay. All right. Ooh, okay. All right. So what do we got? We got APIs that we could implement: OpenAI, IBM, Hugging Face, Runway ML, Hyper, Acer, Google. These are question marks. Well, I mean, these are not question marks, but these will need research. I haven't really worked with these ever. Hyper needs research or reaching out to them. Runway needs some research. I don't know if this is possible. Hugging Face is doable. IBM is very doable. OpenAI is doable. All right, here's the question to everyone. So, do we want to make this? Do we want to make this plugin machine learning specific? So it's only about machine learning APIs? Or do we want to do this about basically any API? So for example, I'm thinking of, do we want to write an API for Twitter, right? And then just write components to ping the Twitter API and get responses, etc., etc. That's not machine learning, but it's pretty much ingrained in the technologies that we're going to be developing. It's basically the same thing. It's inputs and outputs, it's JSON parsing. What do we think about that? What do we think about that, folks? All right, I'm going to take a 1-minute bio break. I'll be right back. I'm going to leave you thinking if we want to include Twitter API, Instagram API, YouTube API, like that kind of stuff. But if we just want to keep it purely machine learning oriented. PVIX is voting just to do machine learning. We're definitely going to start with machine learning, because then if we open the Pandora box of any general API, then this thing is going to explode. But I'll be right back. Give me 1 minute. Hi, hello. Yes, all right. I would also keep it ML. Yeah, probably stay on topic, step by step. ML is already enough. All right. So it looks like we have quorum. All right. Well, at any rate, something that we will have to do is most of these APIs, what you do is you access them through a post request or a GET request. And then what you do is that you basically format the request specifically to the requirements of the API, right? So for example, and we've seen this in previous videos. So let's say you want to do text completion, then you go to the documentation. What is the documentation? Introduction, authentication, prompt design. What is text completion? The completions endpoint, exactly. API reference. So basically what you do is you make a post request, you target this, or what are we? You target this URL as the endpoint, right? And then you compose this JSON file. You compose this JSON file with, you compose this JSON file, you send it with a post request, and then the post request will also need to have like some tokens, some access, right? And then what you do is you get a response, which you then deserialize into whatever information you want, right? So what we're basically doing is we're basically creating components that have inputs and outputs for all this stuff. And then what we do is internally, we just make the process of composing this JSON object, the request, and then sending the request to the endpoint and parsing the result back. We just make that process easier for the user. But in a way, the process that we're going to follow with most of the components is going to be identical. It's going to be just basically writing versions of API calls that somehow adhere to the specifications of the API, which will also mean that we would need to update this component fairly often because these APIs change a lot, etc., etc. But what would also mean is that we would probably want to have a section of generic tools for generic endpoints. And if someone wants to use an endpoint that we don't have a specific component for, they can read the documentation and they can create manually their own request manually to their own request to the API, and that will be helpful for machine learning APIs that we don't have components for, but it will also be definitely useful for API requests to any service, basically, like to Twitter API, Instagram API, YouTube API, you name it, right? So in a way, the generic tools that we will incorporate will be helpful for generic APIs. And that's how people using the plugin might be able to use non-machine learning based APIs. I think that's probably a good way to look at the problem of where do we set our boundaries right now, huh? Okay. So, all right, so what is next then? What is next? What is next? I guess the next thing would be to sketch out a bunch of components that we could develop to get started. We could probably do that. PixV TradingView API. Nice. I also use TradingView myself. It's very, very neat. Yeah. Is there any free tier to the API? Can you do API requests without paying for the service? I don't think that's in the goals. So we want to, let's say, we want to favor free APIs, but we are okay with paid services. Like, for example, OpenAI, you need to pay credits as long as it's not us paying for them. Paying for them. Woo! Yeah, and I'm going to just, yes. I'm going to bold that. Okay. All right. So let's start with the draft. Okay. So for example, what could this look like? APIs that we could implement. Draft of an MVP. Draft of an MVP. So what could we do here? We could do, so let's start with the categories. So how are we going to categorize? How are we going to break this into categories? And by categories, I mean, when you open Grasshopper, which groups do you have? So for example, here, actions is a category, bridge is another category, program, robot. So I guess we probably could break this down by platform. Categories, break them down by platform. So for example, we could have OpenAI, IBM, Google, Azure, Hugging Face. Another way could be by topic, for example, but this is kind of difficult to break down because topics can be like so many things. Like for example, text, image, audio. But then do we do text to text or text analysis or text to image? Is that inside of text, inside of image? Where is that? This could be difficult to categorize or come up with rules for what is where. This sounds about right for now, but perhaps requires knowledge from the user about what can be done in which platform. So if a user wants to do text translation, they would need to go through all the groups to figure out if there's a text translation. Yeah, this is too generic, I agree. PIVX. But I think that's not a terrible thing. By topic, any other way we could organize this? I'm not sure. In any case, I think in any case, we should implement some generics. So for example, generic requests, and here we have get, we have post. For example, we have get, post, etc. And there's not much more in that etc. actually. We should also add something like data processing. So for example, show image, encode image in base 64. We will have to do something like that. Audio, if we're going to be doing speech, like audio processing, encoding, we would image processing, like for example, mask and that kind of stuff. Maybe point, because what was his name? Ambrosinus had this thing where he took an image, then he took the depth of the image and created a 3D point cloud. That's kind of neat. Point cloud from image plus depth. Maybe we could do something like that. Save image to system. I guess we could do that too. Yeah, I guess we would need to come up with a I guess we would need to come up with this way of processing some of this information and doing translations between information. JSON parsing, that's a huge bucket. And we have JSON, which is really, really good. So I'm kind of worried about, I kind of don't want to do a lot of JSON parsing, but then always having a dependency with JSON is not nice because we said we don't want dependencies. Is JSON open source? JSON, Andrew Human, GitHub. It is open source. So what does this mean? Can we integrate it inside of the plugin? Can we ship it? I don't feel great about just taking the whole thing and just shipping it. I guess we could talk to Andrew. Maybe in ship JSON with the plugin. Talk to Andrew, maybe. System text JSON. No need for JSON. I know, so internally we could do JSON parsing, no problem. It's more about if we offer people JSON, but I guess you're right. Like, I guess at that, it's like if we ever expose JSON files as inputs or as outputs, having a tool to create or to deserialize those files would be good. But then that's what JSON is really good at. I don't know. I guess obviously we have JSON already, so it's not a priority. Have I not started this? This is really good. Okay. RB, hello to you too. Okay, so I'm going to move this here. Categorization, and then, okay, so how about a draft of an MVP? each heading is going to be a category, a grasshopper category. Each bullet point, a component. So, for example, let's say OpenAI. And for OpenAI, we're going to want at least, what are we going to do? Completions. Completions, we have create completions, request body, blah, blah, blah. Text completion. And this is, other design considerations. Other design considerations. So every component that does an API request should be async. And we can use for that the speckle template. What we could do is we could maybe, because instead of showing progress as a percentage, because these API requests take a long time, but we never know what the progress is. So instead of that, what we could do is show elapsed time slash completion in the tool, in the, what is it called? The message box. The message box. We can show that. Maybe we even extend the template with a custom, because at the end of the day, okay, with a custom interface or subclass, because at the end of the day, most of our components, what they're going to do is basically the same thing. It's just taking a request, submitting the request, waiting for the response, and then outputting the response. So the part where we do the request, we change the message box with how long has it taken, and then we output, we receive the request. That could be the same for all the components. So we could create a subclass of a what's called a request component. Let's call it that way. A request component. It's always the same kind of component. What changes is that when we inherit from that component, we are the ones who manually in our component design the inputs, the outputs, and and the composition of the request, because the composition of the request will be different based on tokens, JSON, the body of the request, etc., etc. And the responses might be different as well. I mean, the JSON format of the responses will always be different, but some of them may actually be JSON files, some of them may be buffers, just binaries, I guess. With a custom subclass that handles the request the updating of the UI, and receiving the output, and most request components inherit this class and only need to implement IOs plus request composition plus response deserialization. Maybe that could be a reusable way. Are you hearing this, Victor? You did something very similar for the work that we're doing. So maybe we have to do something like that. Mhm. RB? Oh. Okay, so if all right. So RB is asking, what do I think about PHP at the time, at the moment, whether if it's worth getting into it. So PHP is basically a programming language to generate HTML dynamically. So Facebook, when it was first developed, it was written in PHP. PHP stands for personal homepage, and it's basically a way to just write code so that when you ask for a particular website, it just maybe you get some data from a database and you create the HTML that you see on that website based on that database, which maybe has your photos, your friends' photos, etc., etc. So it was a very powerful framework at the dawn of the internet when there were very few front plus backend frameworks. If you were to talk to our friend Nono Martinez Alonso from the Getting Simple podcast, he would say that it's totally worth it, that it's great, and he actually runs and maintains a PHP project called Folio that is based on a content management system framework called Laravel, very popular PHP framework. And he will tell you that it's great. Also, WordPress, I believe, still runs on PHP mostly. To me, PHP is a little bit like Python. It's like I get like shaky when I have to do PHP for very different reasons than Python. It's just that there's something that I just don't relate to somehow. I think it's useful. I think there's still tons of PHP going on in the world. But I think if you're going to learn something, why don't you just learn some kind of more interesting framework like React or something like that, which is very popular these days, for example. And my point with saying React is that what's great about React is that it's JavaScript based, and JavaScript is and will be around for very long. Whereas PHP is it's only PHP, and JavaScript is like useful in so many other places that it's not just so I don't know. I don't know, but React is also slightly different in wishes. Anyway, I don't want to derail. So I would say if you have to, for some reason, do it. But if you're just gonna start from scratch with something, I don't see why PHP would be the way to go. Oh, all right. Hassan Gun's Architectural Design Studio. Hi. Okay. Other design considerations. What other design considerations do we may want to have for the plugin? General ideas or general design principles for this plugin. So I would like this plugin to be something that can be very useful to tinker with multiple machine learning models. So this idea of taking the input from somewhere and using it somewhere else and daisy chaining multiple neural networks. I'm kind of excited about this. Oh, we need to get environment variables from here. So I wonder, I mean, this idea of taking inputs and passing them around is actually pretty ingrained in how Grasshopper works itself. So I don't see what additional design considerations may we need to have just because we're doing machine learning in this case. And since we're not going to be training, or since we're not going to be doing like serious computation, we're not going to do so I don't think we need to come up with like things like artificial for loops or like those kind of things. So I don't know. Juan Roa, cross-functional. What do you mean with cross-functional? How can we make this cross-functional? I'm thinking. Well, I guess if it doesn't come up right away, I guess there's not much to think there. So maybe we can get back to that. OpenAI text completion. Text completion. All right, so we were at text completion. So basically, what do you want to obtain? Design generation based on data from AI and API hopper. React. Well, if your teacher requires PHP, then you have to do PHP. I mean, there's no way around that. You have to obey your professors, okay? Whatever your professor says, said the professor here. All right, text completion, just basically just follow the API IOs, so nothing particular about this. Text completion, models. Oh, we can list the models. List models needs API key. Do we need an API key for this one? Yes, needs API key, returns models. I don't know. I don't even know. Returns models. I guess one thing that we may need to handle is if we are going to be deserializing JSON information internally. So if the component is already going to be giving ID, object, owner, permission, etc., I guess from design considerations, I think so every request component should always at least output the raw response. So basically this thing as it is, no parsing. And then if a response has array data, like for example, this is an array of responses, so an array of models. These should be properly converted to grasshopper lists or trees. That would be also something to keep an eye on. Like for example, if we're doing images, right? And we get 2 images, ideally we would want to output those as a list, right? Yeah. And for this one, for example, and for this one, because we can return URL and base 64, that's where, for example, base 64 to bitmap component would be very useful. Or maybe we convert the image directly inside of the component. So interesting. So that's something that we should probably discuss. Anyway, completions. What about chat? Given a conversation, the model will return a chat completion in return. So we have chat. How is this different from completion? I guess it does have a context. So how could we implement this idea of continuous conversation back and forth with a chat component? We need to think about this. We need to think and design this. Okay, so this would be... Okay, so let's... the design consideration, draft of an API. In parentheses, let's add a priority level. So 5 is minimum viable product. 4 is urgent, interesting. 3 is lukewarm. 2 is little priority. 1 is it would be nice at some point. All right. Low priority. Nice to have, no rush. Urgent, interesting, but not critical, is critical for MVP. Okay, so list model, this is very easy, so we're going to give it a 5. Text completion is also very easy. Chat, I mean, ChatGPT is crucial, but it requires some research. Requires research. Okay, so then what are we doing? Edit. What is an edit? Given a prompt and an instruction, the model will return an edited version of the prompt. What? What is edits? Not sure how this works. Needs research, so it's not critical right now. Okay. Images. Images is critical. So edits, create an edit. Images, image generation. Create image. This one has a priority of 5. Follow the API iOS. Now for this one, for images, the response format is either an URL or a base64. Is edit like AI suggesting a better version of your prompt? I guess. I haven't used it, so it would need a little bit of taking a look at what it's doing. Probably the API. So I wonder if what we want to do, should we output URL/base64 only and require users to, because the user will want to see the image, and require users to convert with our data tools? Or should we also directly convert to a bitmap that can be rendered? For For base 64, it's kind of, for base 64, it's kind of dumb. We do need a bitmap preview, yes. But my question is whether if that conversion happens inside of the component or whether if that conversion happens with a dedicated component. So for base 64, it is trivial, kind of. It is trivial, but for URL responses, we would need to do an additional GET request to fetch the image data from the URL. Why would you want to do it inside the component? Why not just have a component that turns a base 64 string to an image? Passing bitmap objects between components, not performative. I actually disagree, Victor, because the bitmap object already encapsulates pixel data, format data, encapsulates a lot of stuff. Whereas when you pass the base 64, because the string is so large, it crashes the panels. If someone plugs in a panel, it's going to blow up Grasshopper. So passing bitmaps around is actually quite performative because it's just a reference to an object that lives in memory. We will need to do an additional GET request to fetch the image. Not sure about one way or the other. Okay, create image edit. Create an edited or extended image given an original image. All right. Create image edit. I'm gonna give this one a 5 as well, because this is something that a lot of people will want to use. So we're going to follow the APIs. Interesting application of taking an image as input and working with it. Needs PNG files, so also interesting to do file type checks. So, for example, someone may load a file, an image file, from the system, from the computer, and it might be a JPEG. And we might need to write components that convert images from PNG to JPEG and vice versa. Oh my God, this is going to be a rabbit hole. Okay. Yeah, where are we? Image image format conversion, JPEG, for example, JPEG to PNG. This would probably be a common case. Then create image variation. Isn't this the one where you can actually pass a mask? Or that's the previous one, image edit? No. Also interesting to work with masks and transparency. Create image variation. This one should also be easy to do. Create image variation similar to the above, perhaps easier. Okay. So we could do that. Embeddings. Get a vector representation of a given input that can be easily consumed by machine learning models and algorithms. And you get a vector of Are there AIs that format data? Not really, because data formatting and data conversion is an unambiguous process that can be done most of the times without without creative the need to without the need for creative input, or in other words, with very clear and closed form deterministic algorithms. So you don't really need AI for that, unless you do things such, for example, translating text between language translation, which does require where there are no hard rules for that, so it requires like a little bit of like pattern matching and pattern recognition. Okay. Embeddings, I think we're gonna give this a 3 of priority. Low priority unless it can easily be used as inputs for other components, for other processes. So I don't see the need for working a lot, but it's also pretty trivial in a way. It sounds trivial to implement, but I wouldn't do it unless we can come up with a good example of why this is useful. Okay. Then audio. Ooh, audio. So I'm going to fully disclose here. I have very little experience working with audio in Grasshopper, so that's why I'm going to give this a 4 because just because I have not done this a lot, really. Is there any, all right, is there any popular Grasshopper library for audio? And so we would need, I think we will need 2 nice components for this. One would be reading some kind of MP3 file from a computer, from the system, and then piping that to the request. And another very nice one would be some kind of recorder component with a button where we press the button and then the thing reads from the microphone, and then we talk on the microphone, and then there's like a wave like, and then when we release the button, we have a representation of that audio as a wave file, as something around, I don't know. We want to convert Mozart into a wood structure. Mosquito? Is it mosquito a food for, right? What's mosquito for sound? Popular media. Mosquito is for APIs for Facebook, Twitter. So maybe Mosquito has tools that we could reuse. So geo, image, media, sound, strings, sound. It does have some sound here. Okay, is Mosquito open source? Can we take a look? It's not. Download Mosquito, donate, e-coffee, tools, Mosquito, vectors. It doesn't. GitHub, no. Ah, too bad. All right, transcription. It only Whisper is currently available. File. The audio file to transcribe. One of these formats. The audio, yes. So we would need to figure out how to read this. A node and curl. How do we actually transcribe? Because we're passing a file. How do we pass a file? I guess we'll need to take a look at how to... Okay, create translation. This would require audio working with... These are very interesting, working with audio data. This would require working with audio data. So reading audio from a file or recording audio with a Grasshopper component plus a button. That would be sweet. I'm giving them a 4 because it would require all this additional. Well, then what is files? List files. It turns a list of files that belong to the user's organization. Okay, I mean, sure. List files, 5, straightforward. This doesn't really do much. Oh, we can upload files? Oh. Why would we want to do this? Delete file, retrieve file. Okay, so I'm going to give this a 4 files. I'm going to give this all because there's all this. There is list files, upload, delete, retrieve. Not sure what these are useful for, but we could develop this as a package. But I don't know why you want to store files. Find a good example of why do we want to store files in OpenAI. I wonder if when you make... I wonder if when you create an image and you request an URL, that image stays permanently as part of your... Can we check that? So, all right. Can I do a GET request with... yeah, I'm actually... I'm actually super late. All right. Oh, okay. So let's wrap this up. Moderations. Yeah, moderation is an easy one. Moderation... Yes, so that's an easy one. Easy one. It's an easy one. Do we get results for content moderation? And then engines. What is engines? Endpoint and deprecated. Okay, no, this is deprecated. We're not doing this. Parameter details, frequencies. Okay. Okay, and that's it for OpenAI. Okay, I think that's good for OpenAI. Okay, so what are we going to do? So we're gonna leave it here today because I need to jump to another meeting. So what we're gonna do is next time we meet, we're probably either going to start the plugin. I might have a list of more refined. I may have completed the list with at least the MVP or like some components that I want to really start with. What are we going to do next? Yeah, we can probably just get started next week. I can complete the list. If I have not, then maybe we can complete the list during the live stream. Then we can start the project. We can prototype a bunch of components. Maybe we can write that subclass that somehow takes care of this middle layer of making a template for all requests. Maybe we can do that. We'll see. But we will continue then. Thanks to you, Juan, for joining us. Okay, so all right, so that's gonna be all for today. Thank you very much. Wish me luck. I'm running a 5K race tomorrow. The Boston Athletics Association. It's the Boston Marathon week. It's the Boston Marathon next Monday. I am not anywhere close to running a marathon, especially the Boston Marathon, which is very, very competitive. But I'm running a 5K organized by the same organization on Saturday, and it's typically a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy it. So wish me luck on that. My target time is going to be 25 minutes, which is not great, but given my age and my physical state of non-training is not that terrible. And I was not able to train because it was very cold this winter. It was raining and snowing and very windy very often. So those are the excuses that I tell myself. Thank you very much. A correr este fin de semana. And see you everyone. See you next Friday. Bye bye. Thank you. Have a good weekend.